Shyvana slides into the top 3 for jungle this patch, Brand leaves the mid lane list for the first time in months, and who do you guys think is the most OP champ for patch 14.13? And remember, if you're struggling to climb in League, SkillCapped is the only place that guarantees you'll climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. Otherwise, you can claim a full refund. We do this because our service really works, and this is the best time of the season to get in on SkillCapped, as we've just released tons of site-exclusive courses designed for you to power learn the most important concepts for climbing in League of Legends stupidly fast, compared to those who don't use SkillCapped. Join today for unlimited access to the world's most famously effective League of Legends guides, and remember, one subscription gives you access to all of our other games as well. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to stop wasting time being hard stuck and get the rank you actually want. And with that said, let's get into it. With Kennen nerfed, it opens up a spot in the top lane solo carry list, and taking that spot will be Camille. Camille has been a really strong solo queue champ ever since her buffs from earlier in the season. If you can play a good Camille, there are just so many different ways in which you can carry a game. Although the champ may not have the same kind of side lane threat as the likes of Fiora or Yorick, it's still pretty good, while her teamfight impact and ability to find picks is what really sets Camille apart. Oftentimes, you just want to quickly shove out side lane waves, and then instead of trying to take down towers, look for opportunities to flank, especially with these ADCs like Jinx and Jhin in meta who lack gap closers. Getting in behind them and using your long range engage can secure some very high value kills for your team. Two champs that most Camille players are running into issues against right now are Jax and Volibear, so either is a good ban option. The build revolves around a Trinity Force rush into Ravenous Hydra second and Sterix Gage third. Grasp is the keystone rune, followed by Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. Grab free boots and biscuits for secondaries. One of the more simple yet extremely powerful top lane champs that you can play in meta right now is Volibear. Volley has seen a surge in strength due to the new hybrid build, as it's just a really strong setup for solo queue. It's a Rod of Ages rush into Flicker Blade second and Spirit Visage or Frozen Heart third. It's very important you get the rune page right when playing this build, as you want Jack of all trades. The whole idea behind the setup is that Jack of all trades provides 25 bonus adaptive damage if you have 10 unique stats from your items, and this build provides exactly that. The build spikes super hard on 2 items, as the amount of healing and consistent skirmish strength that you have with Rod and Flicker Blades feels great. Volley W cooldown is already quite low at a flat 5 seconds, but when you get Flicker Blades, it drops even lower and provides immense dueling power. Matchup wise for Volley right now, Jax is a good ban to consider, as his E makes it more difficult to play out trades. The best all-around top lane bruiser that you can play for yet another patch is going to be Sett. Sett has maintained his spot on top of the solo queue meta for a few patches now, and his rise was mainly due to indirect changes. We've seen so many top lane champs hurt by changes in recent patches, but Sett has been one of the outliers. Overlord's Bloodmail being added to the game has only made Sett stronger, as it's the perfect third item to provide Sett's W with a ludicrous amount of damage. Lining up that massive W in a mid to late game fight and taking off over 50% of the enemy's health bar is not only insanely impactful, but extremely satisfying as well. The optimal core build that you want to be running consists of a Stridebreaker rush into Hullbreaker second, and then Overlord's Bloodmail third. Sett does not have very many losing matchups analytically right now, but one champ who most players are running into issues against is Volibear. Volley is just a solid top lane ban in general, so if you intend on picking Sett, it's a good option. The rune page that you should be taking on Sett revolves around Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. For the first time this season, making her way onto the jungle solo carry top 3 is Shyvana. So why has Shyvana suddenly become a top tier jungler? There are a few good reasons. For the longest time, it was either Press the Attack or Dark Harvest that had been run as Shyvana's keystone rune. That has now started to change, as Fleet Footwork is seeing much more play and winning at an absurd rate. There had been over 16,000 games of Fleet Shyvana in 14.12, and its win rate was 55%. Dark Harvest and PTA were both down around 51%, so you can see how drastic of a difference that is. As for the build, it's been around for a little while now, with Spear of Shojin, Liandry's, and Riftmaker as the 3-item core. Another more under-the-radar reason as to why Shiv has become stronger as of recent was due to the jungle XP changes in 14.10. For a jungler who wants to hard farm and who has a very strong mid-game, more experience to help her reach that point was a big win. When picking Shiv, it's ideal if you avoid junglers who want to gank a ton early on, as it's difficult for you to match their early game impact, so banning out Jarvan or Xin Zhao is a good idea. Another jungler who's been on the rise over the past few patches and cracking the top 3 for 14.13 is Nocturne. Very much like Shyvana, Nocturne has been finding a lot more solo queue success as of recent due to the XP changes from 14.10. As a jungler who has such a lethal level 6 spike, more access to to experience is going to positively influence Nock a little more than most junglers. Being able to full clear as efficiently as possible is really key to finding the most amount of success on Nocturne, and our new champion Clear Course gives you access to not only Nock's Clear, but a plethora of other junglers as well. 14.10 was overall a really nice patch for Nock, not only due to the XP buffs, but also with Black Cleaver being buffed as well. The core build right now for Nocturne consists of a Stridebreaker Rush into Hexplate 2nd and Black Cleaver 3rd. Since a lot of Nock's strength comes from being able to dive the backline with his ult, banning out a strong peel support like Janna or Lulu is good value. For the rune page, you want to be taking Conqueror, followed by Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Eyeball Collection and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. A bunch of AP junglers have been nerfed for 14.13, but one left off the list and back in the top 3 for jungle is Lilia. Karthus, Talia, and Brand are all nerfed this patch, so it's really going to put some significant separation between them and Lilia. Lilia is just the perfect AP jungler for the majority of ranks because her clear is very solid, gank threat at level 6 is incredible, and her mid to late game teamfight impact is some of the best for any champion. With 2 AoE spells, the ability for Lilia to take early grubs is also really great. Your goal with Lilia as you reach the mid game should be to set up vision around the next objective that's spawning and fish for catch plays with E. If you have deep vision in the enemy's jungle, it's super easy for you to line up an E on the enemy when they try to walk into choke points, which can set you up for free kills. Standard core build for Lilia revolves around a Blackfire Torch Rush into Liandry's 2nd and Zanya's or Rylai's 3rd. Champs that can easily dodge away from Lilia's E really limits her ability to find picks, and with Ezreal seeing a lot more play in meta now after his recent buffs, he's a good ban to consider when picking Lilia. The optimal rune page consists of Conqueror with Triumph, Haste, and Coup de Grace, followed by Free Boots and Cosmic Insight. Coming off some pretty massive buffs from 14.12, our first mid lane solo carry of the patch is Naafiri. Buffs ended up adding over 3% to Naafiri's overall win rate, which has propelled her back up as the unanimous best assassin mid for solo queue. What sets Naafiri apart from a lot of other assassins is that she has a much lower skill floor, meaning it doesn't take much time for you to pick her up and start seeing results. With the point and click engage and the catch strength from R, it makes singling out a fed carry and eliminating them from the map relatively easy. The dueling strength on Eclipse completion is really high, as you'll have double shielding from the Eclipse passive combined with your R. Profane Hydra is the standard 2nd pickup, while Edge of Night or Cyrilda's Grudge slot in 3rd. A good ban if you intend on playing Naafiri right now is Vex, as her fear makes it difficult for you to freely engage as you like. First Strike is the optimal keystone rune with Free Boots, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Best secondaries are Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter. With Brand nerfed for this patch, a mid lane mage that you should put more priority on is Lux. Lux has been one of the better solo queue mages for a while now, and could get even better this patch with the rune changes. Dark Harvest is being changed this patch so that you get more damage for each stack, and with Lux being a longer ranged mage with strong burst power, she has the ability to take advantage of this buff better than most champs. Of course, we'll have to see how the changes pan out throughout the patch, but it is something that we will keep an eye on. Even though First Strike was nerfed in 14.12, it's still outperforming Comet on Lux and is the rune page that you really can't go wrong with. Build for Lux revolves around Eluden's Rush into Horizon Focus 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. Champions who have strong burst and mobility are who can be a bit more difficult for Lux to play into, so using your ban on Fizz is good value. With how the mid lane meta has been shifted in recent patches, it's only giving Vex even more value, and she rounds out the top 3 for mid. Over the past patch, we've seen LeBlanc shoot up to holding one of the highest play rates for any mid, and Vex absolutely demolishes that matchup. Brand nerfed is great for Vex as well, as that has been one matchup that most Vex players have struggled with as of recent. Longer range control mages are the only champs that can give Vex some issues, but there really aren't a ton in meta right now. Lux is one of the higher played ones, so she's a good ban. Electrocute is even being changed this patch so that the damage and cooldown are buffed in the early game. This is only going to make Vex an even more oppressive pick into mid lane champs that have dashes. The standard core build for Vex consists of Eluden's Rush into Shadowflame's 2nd and Zanya's or Rabadon's 3rd. There aren't any changes that will heavily influence the state of the ADC meta for 14.13, so continue to put high priority on Jinx. Jinx currently has one of the highest win rates for any ADC, but it would be even higher if players would adapt to the optimal summoner spells. Ever since Ghost was nerfed and Barrier was buffed, Barrier has been outperforming by over 3%, which is quite big. Only about 24% of Jinx players are actually taking Barrier though. Nearly every single pro Jinx is swapped over to running Barrier or Cleanse. However, the majority of solo queue Jinx players still run Ghost. So if you haven't already, look to try out running Flash with Barrier for this patch on your Jinx. As an ADC who lacks a gap closer, using your ban toward a meta assassin or dive champ is a good idea, and Ahri or LeBlanc are two good options with how much they're being played right now. The core build for Jinx consists of a Kraken Slayer Rush into Phantom Dancer 2nd and Infinity Edge 3rd. Fleet and PTA PA are both viable keystone runes for Jinx. It just really depends on the matchup as to which you choose. If you're paired up with a Leona or Nautilus who want to be forcing early engages, going with press the attack to amplify all-in power is great. Vice versa, if you're with an Enchanter support and are up against a very aggro bot lane duo, going with Fleet so that you can sustain up better is a good idea. After sitting near the bottom of the ADC tier list for most of Season 14, Kai'Sa is now back in a great spot for solo queue. So many changes have gone in Kai'Sa's favor as of recent, ranging from the Shiv buffs to Barrier now being an optimal summoner spell. Kai'Sa needs to be up in the thick of things in order to be most effective, as she can't just sit back from range like Jhin, so you get a ton of value out of Barrier throughout the game due to its shorter cooldown. Being that she's a shorter ranged ADC, Kai'Sa doesn't like playing into ADCs that heavily outrange her, so banning out Caitlyn or Ashe is good value. Kraken and Shiv are both viable rush options for Kai'Sa right now, while Rageblade and Nashor's Tooth follow as second and third pickups. The rune page consists of press the attack with Absorb Life, Alacrity, and Cutdown, while Freeboots and Jack of all trades are for secondaries. One of the more reliable ADCs in meta that you really can't go wrong with is Jhin. Ever since Riot tacked on a bunch of extra AD to the Collector and Infinity Edge, Jhin has been riding high as his mid-game spike is incredibly powerful. Jhin's one of the few ADCs where your scoreline doesn't really dictate how impactful you can be. With the catch power from W and follow-up from R, you can provide really great value for your team even when behind. The same can't be said for many other ADCs, which is something that sets Jhin apart and makes him a solid blind pick. You want to avoid playing against assassins with heavy dive threat when picking Jhin, so banning out LeBlanc or Ahri is a good idea. Rush item for Jhin is the Collector, followed by Infinity Edge second, and then Rapid Fire Cannon third. Roll with Fleet for the Keystone rune, followed by Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cutdown, while Celerity and Gathering Storm are for secondaries. Leona had already been quite dominant in recent patches, but she's gotten even better due to the emergence of a new rush item. If you guys follow our OP builds videos that we release every patch, then you'd already know that Warmogs has taken over as the optimal rush item for Leona and many other melee supports. It's just such a great one-item spike for melee supports because it offers a crazy amount of durability. The sustain is incredible to keep you out on the map, while all the movement speed is the cherry on top. A lot of you probably didn't even know that Warmogs provides 15% movement speed when you're out of combat, so it makes roaming around the map super efficient. Of course, it was the 14.10 changes that made Warmogs an optimal pickup as Riot increased the health on the item from 700 to 1000. Since Leona wants to be the aggressor in lane looking for all-in plays, banning out a support who can nullify that notion is a good idea, and in that case, Braum or Janna are two good choices. After rushing Warmogs, you want to build into Locket second, while Celestial Opposition is the support item upgrade. Best rune page consists of Aftershock with Font of Life, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, while Triumph and Haste are for secondaries. A really great counter to Leona, who is still quite underplayed but an incredibly strong support for 14.13, is Poppy. Poppy is another melee support who can take advantage of Warmogs, so she's absolutely thriving right now. Warmogs with Deadmans as your 2-item core offers a ludicrous amount of movement speed and durability, which is exactly what you want when playing a melee support in solo queue. The movement speed is really disgusting as you run swiftness boots as well and have the ability to execute on some really nice flank angles that you otherwise would not be able to pull off without this build. Poppy really plays well into champs like Pyke, Leona, Rel, Rakan, and Thresh, but struggles more against enchanters who can kite her around, so Lulu is a good ban option. Just the threat of Poppy's W really limits the engage power of many melee supports, as they're taking a massive risk if they ever engage, knowing that Poppy's W can completely stop them in their tracks. The optimal rune setup for Poppy support consists of Hail of Blades with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter, while Hex Flash and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. It's melee support supremacy for 14.13 as Braum rounds out the top 3 for the role. Based on our previous 2 picks, you can probably already assume that Braum is another support that loves the Warmogs rush. Not as many players are running Warmogs on Braum as they are on Leona, but the item is still heavily outperforming everything else as a first pickup. Braum should be your go-to support right now whenever the enemy team locks a melee support. Braum is one of the only supports in the game that actually wants for the enemy to engage onto him because his ability to block damage and then turn the fight in his favor is better than anyone else. It's kind of weird to even say this, but just standing out in the open and actually hoping that the enemy engages onto you is a legitimate way to play the champ, because as long as you're on even health, you're going to win the 2v2 most of the time. It's the ranged pokey supports that you want to avoid the most when playing Braum, so banning out Karma is a good idea. The best rune page for Braum consists of Guardian with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, while Triumph and Haste are for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's going to wrap everything up for our latest edition of the best solo carries. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.